When it comes to major anime, I believe 2007 was a big year for the anime world, where they released some popular shows, some of them being Naruto Shippuden, Bakuno, Gurren Lagann, and even the devil of the anime community, School Days. However, amongst these shows, there was another anime that had taken cute anime girls, tragic stories, and added like a math equation, and that show is the topic of today's video. Today in Let's Talk, Clannad. Clannad was originally a visual novel created by Key and adapted into an anime by Kyoto Animation. Now listen, Clannad is an anime that may occasionally drop blatant sexist jokes, Sunahara, or even jokes about toilets. Looking you again, Sunahara. However, beneath all that exists an anime that tells the story with the importance of family, whether it's your siblings, parents, or even blooming cat. That's right, they did that. However, the importance of family isn't something you learn early on in Clannad. You learn this alongside the main character, Okazaki Tomoya, as he jumps face first in the pit of problems that every other character has, while also suffering from his own issues with his father. He hates his troubled home life and he hates his dull school life, leading to the conclusion that life is boring. And instead of wasting away playing League of Legends in a dark room like a real people, he meets an actual living person on his way to school called Furukawa Nagisa. And it was that moment he met her, the entire screen and mood of the scene immediately changed from a dark and gloomy feeling to a more bright and colorful view, as if Tomoya's life regained the sense of purpose that he lost once he met this one girl. Of course, with it being a romance visual novel adaptation, there are other girls who each have their own story arcs throughout the anime, the first of which being a heartbreaking weirdo, the prophet of starfish herself, Ibuki Fuko, along with her simple goal of handing out invitations to her sister's wedding. Oh, and by invitations, I don't mean beautifully handwritten letters, I mean carved out wooden starfishes, not stars. Apologies, but when it comes to Fuko, you can never mix up stars and starfishes ever again, only to die at the hands of this mighty beast. The second that follows is our genius prodigy, Ichinose Kotomi. And yes, I know her name sounds like an itchy nose. Get over it. She arrives at the struggle of moving on from the death of her parents, and of course, besides her intellect, she also has an extraordinary musical talent. Okay then. Well, at least she has some good social skills to make up for it. Moving on. We then have Miss Student Council President Sakagami Tomoyo, best girl, with her ambition of preventing the sakura trees being cut down for her little brother. Of course, she isn't a normal, rule-obeying, tyrant student council character you would see in a slice of life. Instead, she's ironically the most violent of the bunch with a hidden past. Well, not so hidden because everyone finds out at the worst possible time. Thanks, anime. And the last of the main female characters of the show, we have the Wonder Twins, Fujibayashi Kyo and Ryo, who don't even get a proper story arc to themselves during the anime, besides a simple one episode OVA. But hey, at least they made it into the anime unlike some people. Of course, everyone does end up getting pushed out of the way for the main girl like always, so trust me, they're just friends. Like I said, just friends. Like I said, just friends. Oh, for crying out loud. There is another character that deserves some mention in this video, and that's our comic relief character, Sunahara Yohei. He's everything I needed from a character in this role. He's stupid, he's funny, he's stupid, and most importantly, he's a somewhat decent friend. He never needed to be anything more than that, and Clannad could have thrown him away like all other slice of life do with their comic relief characters. Instead, he ends up receiving his own arc where you get to see him in a whole new light alongside his little sister. Whoa. We ain't talking about that kind of route. But on a serious note, the sibling dynamic between them was the main focus of the arc, and I believe it was handled in an interesting way due to how complicated it was understanding how both of these siblings are feeling, especially Sunohara. It's obvious he wants to be closer to his sister again, and yet he still remains with their distant relationship until the very end, when the football club acts like the spawns of the devil. Me and my homies hate the football club, and I gotta say, both the small fight scenes got me more invested than any shonen battle I've ever seen. What's up with that? I also find it pretty funny there's only one of the two beatdowns in the ring Clannad has. But the characters I mentioned are just the tip of the iceberg. There's still plenty of other characters worth mentioning throughout Clannad, with each of them playing their own role in the story in a heartwarming way. Throughout the major story arcs, we're introduced to this large cast of characters, and eventually, we get to see them all intertwined together and interact in ways providing some hilarious moments. It was never till now I thought a gender swap joke would have been peak comedy for me in anime, but here we are. Now if you somehow couldn't tell already, Clannad is a slice of life. The characters are an essential aspect to keep a slice of life fresh and entertaining. Clannad makes this work by incorporating characters that all range in personalities, with some of them being shy as hell, violent as hell, or just plain out weird as hell. The anime continues to use these characters and their respective tropes continuously throughout the anime's first season for most of their comedy, as the actual plot progresses with Tomoya trying to help Nagisa succeed in reviving the drama club. These characters had some personality traits I tend to dislike at first, such as the shy main heroine. However, as time goes on, you learn these characters are a lot more likable than you think. And the reason for that is the way the characters of Clannad complement each other. It'd be boring as hell if episode after episode was filled with boring interactions with boring personalities. And that's why Clannad chooses to bring some of the most chaotic personalities and throw them in a group together. Episode after episode, antic after antic, you grow to love these characters whether they're perfect or not. And believe me, they really do become perfect when they're all together. A character I especially liked throughout Clannad was Yoshino Yusuke, who throughout the series usually remains a supporting character, with his major moments being in the Fuko arc and after story. There's also his role in the Clannad movie, but I think that's a topic for another day. Though the real reason I fell in love with this character was due to the story of his past. The short story of how he met the love of his life, his rise to fame, and the telling of a powerful story, and how a man can easily lose sight of what's most important to him when given that much fame. And then, how badly the stress can affect someone, leading to their worst decisions. Ultimately breaking the man and leaving him as an outcast of the world that once adored him. Well, an outcast of those except the love of his life. That simple, short story within a singular episode of Clannad just goes to show how well the anime manages to handle the messages it puts forward. And they waste no time in doing so, as in the span of half an episode, it gave me a story that will sit in the back of my head and heart for as long as I'll live. So yes, it's not just because Yoshino is voiced by Midori Kawahikaru. However, speaking of voice actors, while all the Clannad voice actors did a fantastic job throughout the series, there are two in particular that I like to give mentions to. Those two being Nakamura Yuichi and Sakaguchi Daisuke, voices of Tomoya and Sunohara. When it comes to a slice of life like Clannad, the two voices that matter most to me are the main character and his best friend. The interaction between both of them has to flow well and be genuine. This job was done fabulously by both of the voice actors. Whether it was scenes where they were laughing, arguing, or just regular conversation, I fully believe both of these voice actors did a great job in performing these scenes as well as they needed to be. Sakaguchi was hands down the perfect voice of Sunohara, as I can never imagine anyone else in that role, and Nakamura portrayed Tomoya in a great tone, as a guy who likes to mess around whenever he gets the chance. Funny enough, this isn't the only time both of these voice actors play a duo like this. We get to see them play another pair of buddies like this in the anime Hyoka. If you guys would like to see a video on that, then let me know in the comments. Okay, now you must be asking, this just sounds like a regular slice of life. why would I be watching this over something like Sword Art Online or My Hero Academia? Firstly, don't watch those. Secondly, Clannad is not a regular slice of life. The way they handle their characters is miles times better than how they do it in anime like My Hero Academia. I frankly couldn't care any less what Bakugo was angry about this time, but I found myself actually caring about the emotions presented in Clannad. There's another aspect of Clannad I'd like to give mention to, just because of how great it was. That is the soundtrack and music of Clannad. I can't express how much I loved not just the openings of Clannad, but the OSTs of Clannad are ones that will stick with me for a long time. Like I mentioned earlier, Clannad was originally a visual novel, and the OSTs in the anime were used from that. Did that change how impactful they were? Not at all. Each of them gives indescribable feelings, and I really mean that. Spring Breeze is an OST I could simply sit there just listening to it while doing random stuff like making this video, or even just relaxing. Though, that's about the only Clannad OST that gives me a happy feeling now. The Clannad soundtrack is powerful. I mean that. Music is one of the most important aspects of an anime. A memorable soundtrack could easily change how someone feels about an anime. To me, Clannad has the most memorable soundtrack to exist in anime that I've seen so far. Though of course, those that have seen Clannad know perfectly well that one moment where the ending was very misplaced. But even still, what about Clannad was so brilliant to me? That, my friends, is the second season titled Clannad After Story. If you ask me to guess the most deadly soul death trap, Clannad After Story is my answer. And I don't mean this in a bad way even though it sounds like that. I mean this in the way that is because of this one series, I get intense PTSD whenever it snows outside. The first season of Clannad ends like all other slice of life romance do. The couples get together and share a couple cute moments together, but unlike other romance series when it's a done deal when they're together, Clannad takes it further by showing us the after story, and does it, like the title says, brilliantly. After Story shows the story of Tomiya and Nagisa as they enter the working world with the difficulties and joy of life after school. It's in this season where Clannad turns from pure happiness into an emotional breakdown, and that's putting it lightly. The after story of Clannad managed to bring plot points referenced all the way back in the first season and fit them back in ways you'd never have expected. One point that after story heavily focuses on and puts major attention to is how time moves on and it doesn't stop. With the town changing, the characters themselves are maturing and growing up. It was almost in the blink of an eye the guy I was watching being a delinquent at school was now a responsible working member of society. You got to see these characters grow in a way that I haven't seen in anime before. And that's what made After Story hit as hard as it did. Because you were then forced to see these characters that you'd grown to love hit rock bottom and suffer the worst of the worst. That is what I call cruel. It's not just the viewer who can suffer hard from this anime, it's the main character himself that suffers more than you could possibly imagine. Clannad is the twisted story of how a man could be given hope, only to have it taken away in the worst of all ways. But even still, it's an anime that teaches you not to be blinded by any bit of despair that comes your way. Oh god, I said despair. Danganronpa fans are jumping in their seats. But to be forced to watch this guy become exactly the father he once despised at the beginning of the anime was one of the most emotional moments of the entire series. The entire final section of After Story, with Tomiya's realization of everything, his acceptance of the truth, his acceptance of the door that reminds him of everything he lost. But speaking of powerful moments, the field scene of Clannad After Story is a scene I consider one of the best scenes of all media. A single scene like that has the power to make me feel happy, and yet also confused on why there are tears going down my face. And it wasn't just the emotions it brought me that made me feel that way, it was the way it fitted itself into the story, and the impact it had on the characters themselves, as it was this entire part of the story that gave Tomiya the slap in the face he needed because it was time to finally wake up. Tomiya meeting with his father once more, and realizing everything he did for him, even if he made mistakes. Letting the old man know he could finally relax. In short, Clannad is the most emotional piece of drama I think I'll ever come across. No series has ever made me as sad as Clannad did, and in total, This entire series made me realize that Maeda Jun is a man who likes to commit murder in the form of fiction. If you told me that you found the first season of Clannad bad or boring, I'd hate your guts, but still understand where you're coming from. But with the impactful soundtracks, the beautiful art, and the brilliant storytelling of Clannad Afterstory, I don't think I could truly understand someone who told me that they didn't like it. For me, I didn't enjoy Clannad Afterstory at all. There was no pleasure in that, but I still love it with all my heart, and it's a series that is very dear to me even now. It was the first anime series I've ever seen where you can genuinely watch these characters live their lives on a whole new scale, and still have the guts to end it like that. And honestly, I have the guts to say this anime did everything perfectly. The soundtracks and openings of Clannad were each created beautifully, and to this day, the goddamn Dango song still haunts me. No, not now. The art style is something not everyone will like, especially with the eyes being the size of car tires. And there's also the fact that if I wasn't told otherwise, I'd probably think Kotomi was the third Fujibayashi sister. But in the end, if the only problem I have with it is a character design for one character, then I can say the art and design was done pretty damn well. And in all honesty, even though I just made fun of them, I see no problem with the eyes. The art is just representing the time it was made, 2007. It is also a perfectly good adaptation of the style that Key had in their visual novels. So would I try to recommend Clannad to you? Absolutely. Or do I expect you to enjoy it? It's 50-50. In this day and age, the kind of series that are dominating the anime world have near perfection levels of art and animation, and they are all mainly battle shonen or trashy isekai. This kind of thing is the complete opposite of Clannad. It's a slow-paced story, the animation is not Demon Slayer level, the music is beautiful but that isn't enough to catch the attention of some viewers. That's right, I'm gonna say it, I'm dropping the bomb. Slice of life is not for everyone. This isn't me saying it's some sort of refined taste, even though it is, but it's just me giving advice. If you really can't get through the first season of Clannad, I wouldn't even bother continuing. The only reason Afterstory affected me so much was that I enjoyed and loved the first season all the same. Plus, the characters themselves shaped the way I chose to live my life from then on. To finish off, was Clannad worth it? Definitely. This anime will forever reign in my heart as something special, and as of now, is still, and I expect forever to be my favorite anime of all time. It managed to portray life and the meaning of family, time, and love perfectly. And has taught me so many goddamn life lessons that I'd need 10 hands if I wanted enough fingers to count them all. I could only hope that it means the same to everyone else, as much as it did to me. Alright folks, I'm Tenshi, and this was the Brilliance of Clannad. Mata ne mina.